Zeno of Citium, and the founding of the Stoic school. Opening 00 to 10. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Today, we're going to step back in time to the bustling streets of ancient Athens and explore the life of a man whose ideas would influence emperors, revolutionize philosophy, and still resonate deeply with us over 2,000 years later. His name was Zeno of Citium, and he was the founder of Stoicism, one of the most enduring schools of thought in Western philosophy. But Zeno didn't start out as a philosopher. His story begins with a shipwreck and ends with a legacy that still shapes how we think about virtue, emotion, and the meaning of a good life. Who was Zeno? 1 to 3, Zeno was born around 334 BCE in Citium, a city on the island of Cyprus. Citium was a Greek city under the influence of the Phoenicians, and Zeno himself may have been of mixed heritage, Greek and Phoenician, which is important when you consider how his philosophy blended different traditions. He wasn't always destined to be a philosopher. He started life as a merchant, likely trading in purple dye, which was highly valuable at the time. But everything changed during one fateful voyage. According to legend, Zeno's ship sank, and he washed ashore in Athens with little more than the clothes on his back. Looking for meaning in this misfortune, he wandered into a bookstore and began reading Xenophon's Memorabilia, a book about the teachings of Socrates. Deeply inspired, he asked the bookseller where he could find a man like Socrates. The seller pointed to a nearby philosopher, Crates of Thebes, a well-known cynic, and so began Zeno's philosophical journey. A student of many masters, 3 to 430. Zeno was not a one-school kind of thinker. He studied with Crates the Cynic, who taught him the importance of self-sufficiency and living in accordance with nature. But Zeno wasn't satisfied with the cynic lifestyle. It was too extreme for him, too dismissive of society and culture. So he moved on. He studied with Stilpo of Megara, who was steeped in Socratic logic. He learned from Polemo, head of Plato's academy, and explored the ideas of the Pythagoreans, who emphasized harmony and the order of the universe. In other words, Zeno was assembling a toolkit, logic from the Megarians, virtue from the Cynics, and metaphysics from the academics. After about 20 years of study, he began to teach. And instead of founding his school in a private garden or secluded house, Zeno did something different. Core ideas of Zeno's Stoicism. Let's break down Zeno's Stoic philosophy into its 3 central disciplines. Logic. This wasn't just formal reasoning. It meant learning how to think clearly. A Stoic must train their mind to distinguish truth from falsehood. Clear thinking guards us against irrational emotions and false beliefs. Physics. Not just atoms and stars, but understanding nature and the universe as a rational, ordered whole. Zeno believed in logos, a divine rational principle that governs the cosmos. Living in accordance with nature meant aligning your will with this universal order. Ethics. This was the heart of Stoicism, how to live well. For Zeno, the highest good was virtue, acting with wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control. Wealth, health, status, these were indifferents. They might be preferred or dispreferred, but they didn't make you good or bad. Here's one of Zeno's most famous ideas: happiness is a good flow of life. That flow comes from virtue, from living in harmony with nature and reason, not from chasing external rewards or running from pain. Zeno also emphasized apatheia, freedom from destructive emotions. This doesn't mean feeling nothing. It means not being ruled by passions like anger, greed, or fear. Zeno's legacy and influence. 7 to 9 Zeno taught for decades, and though he wrote many works, none survive in full today. What we know of him comes from later sources, Diogenes Laertius, Cicero, and others. He was known for his modesty, self-discipline, and integrity. The people of Athens held him in high regard. When he died around 262 BCE, they honored him with a public burial and a statue. Zeno's successors, Cleanthes and later Chrysippus, expanded Stoicism into a more detailed system. Chrysippus, in particular, is often credited with solidifying the doctrines of Stoicism as we know them. But Zeno lit the first flame. Over time, Stoicism spread far beyond Athens. It reached Rome, where it shaped the thoughts of powerful leaders and brilliant minds. Seneca, advisor to Emperor Nero Epictetus, a freed slave and teacher, and Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and author of Meditations. Even today, Stoicism speaks to people seeking resilience, clarity, and meaning in a turbulent world. Part 5. Why Zeno Still Matters, 9 to 10. Zeno of Citium didn't just survive a shipwreck, he transformed loss into purpose. He turned personal tragedy into a lifelong search for truth. His teachings remind us that we can't control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we respond. That's the Stoic message. Control what you can, accept what you can't. Act with virtue, no matter the cost. In a world filled with distraction and noise, Zeno's wisdom endures as a quiet compass pointing us toward a life of clarity, courage, and character. Thank you for listening. End. Would you like this adapted into a video script, podcast voiceover, or slide presentation format? Why Zeno Still Matters. Zeno of Citium didn't just survive a shipwreck, he transformed loss into purpose. He turned personal tragedy into a lifelong search for truth. His teachings remind us that we can't control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we respond. That's the Stoic message. Control what you can, accept what you can't. Act with virtue, no matter the cost. In a world filled with distraction and noise, Zeno's wisdom endures as a quiet compass pointing us toward a life of clarity, courage, and character. Thank you for listening.